Welcome to this special podcast for the launch of the 2024 Welch LLP Business Growth Survey. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. I also want to give a shout out to OBJ's partner in this project, the Ottawa Board of Trade. The Ottawa Board of Trade uses this project in its advocacy efforts, making it even more important. The Welch LLP Business Growth Survey is the definitive annual survey of local business leaders. The survey provides many insights into the local economy. Here are a few examples of that. It measures growth in revenue and profitability, hiring intentions, business confidence, and input on many other topics ranging from performance at City Hall to major development projects. Just over 500 business people took the survey this spring. Suffice to say, the Welch LLP Business Growth Survey is a valuable and insightful tool for people who want to understand what's happening in the local economy. Okay, here's what you can expect in this special podcast. In just a second, we'll hear from OBJ's editor-in-chief on the 2024 theme. We will hear from our survey partners. The main guest will be Dr. David Coletto, the chair and CEO of Abacus Data. Once again this year, Abacus Data is our research partner, as they have been since 2015, meaning this is the survey's 10th anniversary. If you're interested in the state of the local economy, this is the podcast for you. Buckle up. I'm now joined by Anne Howland, the editor-in-chief of OBJ. Welcome, Anne.
Good to see you, Mike.
Thank you for all your work over the past several months. Yes, it's true to our listeners and viewers here. It takes months of work to get this report to come to fruition. And you were responsible for making the decision on the 2024 theme. What was it?
For sure. So some people may be curious as to why we chose the theme of municipal government this year. There's a few reasons I chose that theme. One was I've long been interested in the intersection of business and government. I've worked myself in both the public and private sectors and have seen a number of issues from both sides. And I've seen when those sides come together and work collaboratively, and I've seen when that hasn't happened quite so well. A second point is, I think few of us would disagree that Ottawa finds itself at a tremendous inflection point, a tremendous time of change. There's both challenge and opportunity. And I thought, what a great time really for the business community to be able to weigh in on some of those changes. Never has there been a more important time for business and government to come together in the city of Ottawa. And then finally, we have a fairly new mayor and council, about 18 months into their mandate, some time to get some traction, to see some results, maybe make a few errors along the way. But again, a great time for the business community to be able to weigh in, not only on the mayor and council, but also on the performance of City Hall itself.
And in the end, it's like a report card on City Hall. And this Su Ling Ching likes to say at the Board of Trade, it's an all hands on deck moment. And I think it's great to get business leaders interacting and sharing some of their priorities with City Hall. And there were dozens of pieces of data that emerged from the survey results. Tell us about what stood out for you.
Sure. So a couple of things. One, on the Business Confidence Index itself, it took quite a dive this year, actually, the Business Confidence Index. So that was a bit of a surprise, I think. It went almost down to pandemic levels, the outset of the pandemic in 2020. So I think that caught a few of us by surprise. To be honest, I was expecting more kind of a steady state type of result this year. So that was a little alarming and an interesting finding. The second one was within the responses to the thoughts about the performance of the municipal government, and business leaders were asked to choose their priorities going forward. And there wasn't really a clear result. It was kind of a whole jumbly, pile of stuff that was important, but nothing clear came out as top 1, 2, 3. So it's interesting, but I could also imagine it makes it difficult for, public policy officials and politicians to really know where to focus and what is truly important to the business community in Ottawa.
Good point. It's almost like a laundry list of priorities. The city hall maybe an opportunity to work with the Board of Trade and other business groups to get some direction. And I want to thank you again for all your hard work, and thanks for sharing your thoughts today.
Thanks, Mike.
When the Business Growth Survey was founded back in 2015, it was Welch LLP that stepped up to help us establish it. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since that point. I'm now joined by Chris Meyers, a partner with our title sponsor, Welch LLP. Here's Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Michael. I can't believe it's been 10 years.
It is a little shocking. We appreciate all that support, and I think we're working on a project that lots of people appreciate, Chris. So let's get right into this. The 10th ever result, 2024 results. What stands out to you, Chris?
Well, first and foremost, it's business confidence levels. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's the second lowest level of business confidence in the entire time we've been doing this survey. The lowest being 2021, COVID year. So I was surprised, but not surprised at the same time. I mean, let's talk about what businesses are experiencing. Yes, we have a bit of a soft landing happening in the economy in terms of bringing interest rates and inflation under control. But I think the reality is that some of those influences and factors that led to those interest rates in the first place, I think are really settling in and becoming a permanent feature of the economy. Higher cost of living, higher housing costs. This has impacts on consumers. And perhaps that's what we're seeing in the results, sort of a recognition that we're ready for a bit of a challenging time over the short term, perhaps. That said, there are some positives, and perhaps 2025 is setting up to be a little bit of a bounce back year. I do like to see impressions turning a lot more positive in terms of the city of Ottawa itself, council, the mayor, investments that are being made by both the city and the private sector that the city is helping to support as well. So it's nice to see a little bit of positives in that regard. Also great to see the LRT show up as an actual positive than it has been in the past. And that's the impression of business owners. And you know what? I think we need to start thinking of the LRT as an investment that is going to pay dividends for the city, not the cliches of the past. And it's exciting and personally to kind of see the trillion line inching towards opening. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag as always. But those are my initial impressions of the results this year.
Excellent. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I agree with that input. We're in this really interesting time where there's a prolonged negativity, a lot around macroeconomic factors, but maybe some questions about things happening locally. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to ask you, Chris, is we don't just do the survey so people put it on a shelf. We do the survey to try to provide business leaders with some data that's actionable. So Welch has this incredible 100+ year history of giving great business advice to local business leaders. When you think of the data in this report, what sort of things should business leaders be thinking about in terms of action?
You know, you're right. We should be asking ourselves this question every year, and we do. I think for 2024 going into 2025, my answer isn't really that much different than it was last year. I think the backdrop is different, though. Productivity and efficiency of businesses in the economy, I think, is starting to get some of the attention it finally deserves as an issue that we need to deal with in this country, not just Ottawa, but in Canada, generally speaking. Our businesses need to be more productive, more competitive. Governments need to support that type of environment going forward. It impacts our standard of living. Now, for our audience here, right, local business, what can you do at your business level to contribute to and be part of the solution to that particular problem? Similar to 2023, use of technology to increase productivity, whether on the shop floor, your coffee shop, your sales or back office processes. We need to be looking at these things in order to improve your productivity and efficiency and your bottom line. Leading into that, I think it's connected. Invest in innovation. Don't make it an accident. Make it purposeful. There is such a democratization of technology. I know it's a term that's been used often in the past, but there's so much more available there in terms of what you can expose your business to and disrupt your own business, right? Let alone your sector. So business owners, I think, need to start thinking about that. And finally, it's very intuitive, but certainly in this environment, continue to review your costs, trim where you can, build up your financial resiliency, and get ready for 2025 as a bit of a bounce back year.
That's some very practical advice. Thanks again, Chris, for your support, and thanks for appearing on the podcast.
Thanks, Michael.
Hi, I'm Jim McConnery of Welch LLP. Businesses in Ottawa continue to adapt and evolve. Some businesses are flourishing. Other parts of the economy have suffered greatly. In both cases, local business leaders have demonstrated their resilience. For some, resilience means work from home. For others, connecting with clients virtually or doing things differently. In a constantly changing environment, how are business owners to make heads or tails of the situation? That is the purpose of the report we share today. It is the definitive survey of local business leaders that determines business confidence. It measures who is hiring, trends in real estate, and changes in how we work. Let us take you inside the results of the survey and share valuable insight to determine what an economic recovery will look like and what that will mean for you and your business.
In that transaction, our firm acted for the team, and we did all of the work related to getting the approvals, getting the development, getting the financing, and so forth for the team. My role was specifically the real estate side of things. So I was responsible for making sure the roads were laid out, that all the required easements, all the required agreements, were all in place, including leases and so forth. And our firm basically did it from A to Z. It was a very exciting project. When I look back now, it was basically a farmer's field when we started work on it. And even after it was built, it was mostly farmer's fields surrounding it. And to see what it's become today is quite remarkable. I think I would start by lining up all the municipal government leaders that they think they need to have the support, because if things get stalled at any bureaucratic level, it's good to have that person that's in charge that can step in and get things moving. And we certainly experienced that when the Palladium was built.
It is Sprott's pleasure to again be a partner in the annual Business Growth Survey. Reflecting on this year's results, it's clear that Ottawa businesses can only thrive in an environment that promotes economic development. The disruption of the pandemic has given us all an opportunity to reimagine Ottawa and to build back better and stronger. Work has already begun toward the revitalization of Ottawa's downtown core, including a new centrally located NHL arena that will inject excitement and vibrancy into our city and businesses. At the Sprott School of Business, it is indeed our responsibility to support the community that supports us, and we take that very seriously. We want to help in that growth, and we have the talent indeed to help. We see many opportunities for our Sprott business students and Sprott researchers to contribute innovative ideas. Our students and researchers can provide the insights to determine feasibility and deliver projects that support the strategic growth of our local economy. To the point about business schools playing a key role in the successes of the local economy, initiatives here, such as the Sprott Student Consultancy Group and the Innovation Hub, support our community through tackling current issues and presenting viable solutions that generate that prosperity. As noted in the survey, whether it be connecting communities to businesses across the city, to developing a new downtown sports complex, redevelopment of the downtown core, or others, here at the Sprott School, we have the talent, energy, and multifaceted perspective to uncover new opportunities that can support innovation and growth. And more, the Ottawa business sector can leverage these talents free of charge. As we listen to and understand the needs of our local business community, know that the Sprott School is always here to collaborate with you in shaping the positive trajectory of the nation's capital. Thanks.
Bonjour, I'm Cal Poirier, owner of a small brand and advertising agency, Cayenne Creative, here in Ottawa. Today, I'm speaking to you as the president of the board of the AGA, Regroupement des gens d'affaires de la capitale nationale, a voice of all French-speaking businesses in the National Capital Region. We're thrilled to note that in this year's growth report, the strongest support yet for the importance of employee bilingualism. The report shows that support for employee bilingualism in the workspace is at an all-time high, with 67% support and 24% of respondents saying it's very important. The mission of the AGIA is to celebrate, encourage, and facilitate any businesses that wish to offer their service in both French and English. We champion business people that understand that bilingualism is not just an asset, it's a cultural gift. It's a well-known fact that clients prefer being served in their language of choice, and bilingualism makes great business sense. By embracing bilingualism, we open doors to new opportunities, foster inclusivity, and enhance customer satisfaction. The IGA will continue to support and promote bilingualism in the workforce, ensuring that our region remains a dynamic and prosperous hub for business and for culture. Thank you. Merci.
Okay, well, the time has finally arrived. You've been patiently waiting for the results of the 2024 Welch LLP Business Growth Survey. Here with the findings is the CEO of Abacus Data, David Coletto.
Well, thanks, Michael. So glad to be back for another year exploring how Ottawa business leaders are feeling about the environment and a number of other issues. This year's survey explored a number of new topics with a deep look at how business leaders and those who own businesses are feeling about their municipal government. So let's get into it. Before I get into the results of our survey, though, I wanted to share a perspective on how the broader public is feeling. As a pollster, I get this, unique opportunity to ask thousands of Canadians hundreds of questions every week. And what's become clear to me is that, the overall mindset of the public is one in which we're quite challenged, right? Only 1 in 4 Canadians feel that the country is headed in the right direction. That will mean something when we get into how business leaders feel about the direction of the city. But broadly speaking, when you ask people what's keeping you up at night, I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser here and say that the results are similar to what's keeping business leaders up at night. The cost of living, inflation, housing, affordability, prices, all of these things are front and center for most Canadians. And along with, concerns about healthcare and climate change and some other issues surrounding those. So this mindset of real focus on inflation, the effect that inflation has had on individual consumers, has, I think, led to many of them feeling that we're in this state of permacrisis, right? That the inflationary period that we are living through right now is one of many things that are causing people to feel what the Collins Dictionary defined as the word of the year in 2022, a period of permacrisis, a period of instability and insecurity that has a big effect on how consumers view their world, how customers in the B2B space view their worlds, and then ultimately, obviously, how business leaders are navigating this environment. And this all leads to what I define as a scarcity mindset. And that's an important starting point to understanding then, how is the Ottawa business community responding? And that's always the focus of our survey. And I want to start with looking at how businesses in Ottawa are feeling about their own business and their outlook for the future. And these questions comprise the core of our business confidence index that we have been doing now for a many number of years. Now, this survey was conducted earlier this year in February and March of 2024. We have 261 business leaders who completed the survey. This is the same methodology and approach that we've taken in the past. We engage with partners, the Ottawa Board of Trade, a number of community-based business organizations, the BIAs. All of them are sending an invite out to their members and asking them to participate. And this is how we've done the survey now for many years. So let's get into the results. Firstly, when we ask businesses how their net income is doing over the last completed fiscal year, 40% report that their net income is higher than it was in the previous year, but about the same number report that it is lower than it was in the previous year. Important shift that we've seen over time. In terms of future market expectations, do you think the market for your business is going to improve over the next year, stay the same, worsen? There's more optimism than pessimism. About 4 in 10 again think that their market will improve, but 1 in 4 report that they think that market's going to get worse before it gets any better. Another signal of some pressure on large numbers of businesses in our community. The result of that is that only about a third of businesses in Ottawa say that they are going to recruit new employees over the next year. That's a substantial decline. I'll show this in a moment. Half say they're going to keep their team sizes about the same, with 10% signaling a reduction actually in the employee numbers. And this comes off of many, many years in which most businesses had been signaling to us plans to either grow or stay the same. Access to credit obviously has become quite difficult for many businesses as credit has become more expensive with rising interest rates. Only 3% say that in the last year compared to a year ago, accessing credit is easier. A third say it's harder, and 41% say it's about the same. Finally, what about confidence in the broader local economy? Here we see a lot of pessimism. Half of business leaders say that their confidence in the local economy has declined in the past year, only 13% saying it has improved. And so when we look at this over time, two in particular, the 12-month employment plans, right? You see that prior to the pandemic, prior to 2020, we had this consistent number of about 40 to almost half of businesses saying, look, I'm going to hire new employees. That dropped obviously substantially in the pandemic and then rebounded very quickly up to a high 2 years ago of 61% of survey respondents and businesses in our community saying they are going to hire more employees. That's now down almost in half to 35%. Apart from the pandemic year of 2020, it's the lowest that we've seen. So that employee growth mindset is one in which is very constrained. Similarly, the ups and downs of overall confidence, those who say that their confidence in the local economy is improving in the past year, you can see again that dip into the pandemic year of 2020 and then the rebound. We're now at close to a low again at 13% who think that their confidence in the local economy is going to improve compared to a year ago. So what does all this mean? So we take these results and we calculate what we call the business confidence index. And a score over 100 is net positive. A score below 100 is signaling a more pessimistic environment. And you can see that from 2013, the first time we did this survey, all the way to 2019, we have been above 100. The pandemic really sank business confidence down to 78, the lowest we had ever measured. We saw a rebound in 2021 and then a further rebound into 2022. But now in 2024, the most recent survey that we did, we have a score of 98, which is the second lowest score we have ever measured since going all the way back to 2013. And what is happening is that of the major sectors where we have large enough sample sizes, we've seen big shifts in the confidence in the professional services sector, in hospitality, in construction, and in retail. Only in technology, it's the only significant sector that we have sizable data for, where there's a positive overall confidence level. It's up slightly from last year, but across the board, we've seen a big decline. And in hospitality, I highlight that because they've been on a roller coaster in particular. They had a huge drop, obviously, in the pandemic, a slower rebound, felt really positive headed into 2022, and then to some extent in 2023. But they have felt, I think, the effects of that scarcity mindset that I've described earlier. And so the big picture of business confidence in the city right now is one of, I think, not outright fear, but certainly the optimism isn't there, and that we've entered this new period where people are trying to make sense, business leaders trying to make sense of what's going on. So when we dig deep then and ask a number of questions about the state of the city, one of the intents of this survey was to almost do a report card on the city as a whole, on decisions that City Hall and the mayor are making as it relates to businesses in the community. And as I noted earlier, only 1 in 5 Canadians think their country's headed in the right direction. When we ask specifically about Ottawa to business leaders in the community, about half feel positive about the direction of the city and then half don't. And so what we did is we followed up with a question and said, well, why is that? Why do you feel, for example, things in the city are headed in the right direction? And here's a word cloud. People could write anything that they wanted. You could see the mayor figures prominently for those who are optimistic and positive about the direction of the city. There's a sense of growth, opportunity, housing being built, perhaps some optimism that light rail issues are being resolved, and we aren't going to necessarily have those issues come up over time. But clearly, the mayor himself is a big driver of how business leaders are feeling about that city. Now, for those who say they think the city's headed in a negative direction, you see housing and transit and light rail appear as major issues. Concerns about taxation being a problem, property taxes, development charges, lots of things happening over the course of the past year that might be putting some pessimism in the minds of business leaders in the community. Now, when we ask specifically about the performance of the municipal government across a number of sectors, right? Developing the Ottawa International Airport, making Ottawa an attractive place for businesses, working hard to build as many new homes as possible. On all of these, you get almost half of businesses saying, I think this, the municipal government's doing either a good or okay job, right? Smaller portions are thinking there's negativity there. The performance isn't great. Making it easier to run a business. Well, here we're getting close to, 4 in 10 businesses who were reporting negative evaluations of the municipal government, and 2 in particular, fixing issues with light rail, improving public transit. These remain kind of the sore spots, the pain points for businesses in the community, where you're having more than half giving negative grades to the municipal government. Now, despite what appears like not an overly optimistic or positive assessment of how things are going at City Hall, the mayor himself, Mark Sutcliffe, has relatively good approval ratings. 65% of businesses in the community approve of the job that he has done so far as mayor of Ottawa. Only 17% disapprove. Those, somebody who does a lot of polling of a lot of different politicians across the country, that's a signal that the business community, for the most part, feels good about the decisions and the direction that Mayor Sutcliffe has taken at City Hall. When it comes to City Council, less enthusiasm, although net favorable still, more approve than disapprove of the job that City Council as a whole has done. And I think that's a signal that despite people feeling that some aspects of the city, transit, light rail, are we building enough homes? Is the city easy enough to do business in? Are pain points, that the general feeling is that this council and the mayor are doing a pretty good job. Now, let's dig into what are the priorities then of businesses. And we gave them a long list and said, pick the 3 that you think the city should focus on in 2024. And you can see, first of all, is that there's no one issue that overwhelmingly businesses point to, which I think reminds us of how diverse the business community actually is. But at the top of the list is promote economic development, improve public transit, make downtown more vibrant, more on that to come, reduce homelessness and keep taxes as low as possible, reduce crime and speed up the construction of new housing. Those 7 issues, you get sizable numbers of business leaders saying they are in their top 3. And it's, as I noted earlier, there's no one that everybody says we've got to do, which signals that depending on where you are in the city, depending on what kind of business you are, your priorities might be different, which is a challenge for advocates of the business community, for obviously politicians and administrators at City Hall to kind of focus on one. But what's clear, I think, is the business community is asking and seeking and focusing on making our city more livable, making it easier to get around, which then ultimately, I think, makes it easier to do business. And those are the signals that we're seeing. Now, when we get specific to a few projects, there's a lot more in the full report on what we asked, but I wanted to end by focusing on a number of big projects that there remains lots of debate and some movement. One of them being, for example, Lansdowne 2.0. And so we asked business leaders, what's your view of these projects? And in the case of Lansdowne, fairly overwhelming support. 70, almost 3 in 4 business leaders say they support the redevelopment of Lansdowne that's now been approved by City Council and is moving forward. Only about 1 in 4 oppose that project. What about a new arena, being built in the downtown area? Here we see overwhelming, almost, exciting support. 50% strongly support it. Another 31% support it outright. That's 81% support for a new arena, which is a clear signal that if we're going to perhaps get downtown redeveloped and re-energized, that new arena complex is going to be a big part, perhaps, of how we do that. And then finally, redeveloping the downtown core. I know that just a few weeks ago, the Ottawa Board of Trade released a new report about how to re-energize and reinvigorate the downtown core. You can see here, despite how diverse our business community is in terms of where businesses are located, in terms of the type of business they are, there's overwhelming support and perhaps strong support for the city, for business communities, for other levels of government to be really focused on improving the downtown core, with overwhelming support for that moving forward. And so I'll stop there in terms of the new survey results. As I said, you can see at the bottom of your screen, you can access the full report that has much more detail and analysis about what we found. But as I reflect on where we are right now, I think it's important to note that the relationship between how businesses are feeling and how consumers are feeling are strongly related. As I said, the long-term effects of inflation, even if we start to see interest rates start to decline over the course of this year and into next, the longer-term effects of inflation are being felt. Businesses are not confident in their market. They're hesitant to hire new people. Some are even considering reducing the size of their businesses. Credit's very hard to access. All of that builds up into a confidence level that is lower than anything we've seen except for the 2020 pandemic year. So this is the value of doing the research. We are able to keep a pulse of where businesses are from year to year. And I think that working together with the municipality, with other levels of government, I think this is a clear signal that we've got to find a way to bring people together and make it easier to operate and run a business in this city, because the pressure on businesses is pretty substantial. Thanks so much, Michael. Back to you.
Thank you, David. Great job. There you have it, the 2024 Welch Business Growth Survey results. Before I wrap up, I want to thank a few people at OBJ who have worked for months on this project. At OBJ, Anne Howland, Victoria Stewart, Wendy Bailey, Tanya Connolly-Holmes, Susan Habib, and Khaled Abdel-Jabbar, that works behind the screen, if I can put it that way, to put these podcasts together. At the Ottawa Board of Trade, Su-Ling Ching and Melissa Howell, and our collaborators at Welch LLP, specifically Connie Hollett and Bruce Ragnall. Thank you to all of them. And of course, this project wouldn't be possible without the support of its sponsors. Here are a few of them: the Sprott School of Business, Perley, Robertson, Hill and McDougall LLP, RBC, the RGA, the Regroupement des Gens d'Affaires, the United Way of Eastern Ontario, and our venue, the National Arts Centre. All right, so now you're wondering, how do I get my hands on this report? Well, there are some physical printed copies floating around the city, so you can look at an OBJ rack to pick up a copy. But also you can go online to Ottawa Business Survey Report. Again, that's Ottawa Business Survey Report.ca, by the way. Je tiens à mentionner, ce report est également disponible en français. Yes, the report is also available in French, thanks to our friends at the RGA. Visit the same URL. On behalf of OBJ, the Ottawa Board of Trade, and Welch LLP, let's keep moving forward and building a better Ottawa. Take care. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.